And welcome everyone. Today I'm doing an in-depth guide on HP and fluid armor. You're going to want to call fluid armor shields, but don't, because shields in Mechabreak are very different. They are in fact shields. These glowy blue things are shields, and they're indicated with a light blue bar above the white bar. That's your fluid armor. And then your green or turquoise or whatever, I'm color deficient, so good luck, that is your HP. Shields regen, HP doesn't. This would make shield the most important stat in the game for defense. Unless, of course, your party dynamics determine otherwise. Whenever you're looking at an enemy, whenever you're locked on, it will show 6 bars, and the regen starts regenning automatically. An important note on regen is as soon as you deal damage, the regen begins, and then the ticks have a timer on them. The regen is automatically backlogged for when you take damage the first time. So here's the fluid armor. It's 6 bars whenever you're locked on. When you're not locked on, it is 4 bars. It doesn't matter what mech you have, how many fluid armor points you have, or anything of the like. It will always be divisible by these 6 bars when you're locked on. And then inside of the training yard, the thick blue lines are going to be 20 meters, and the thin blue lines outlined here in yellow are going to be 10 meters for your speed measurings and stuff like that for anyone else that does ridiculous stuff in the game. As far as damage goes, each mech has its own defense and own damage types. So, for instance, Gatling gun is ballistic. So all the things that appear to be real bullets, like the Gatling guns and the other guns in the game, these are all going to be ballistic types. And then there are 4 different damage types and 4 resistances. There's blast, ballistic, physical, and energy. The blast is missiles. The ballistic is bullets. The physical is stabs and parries, which we'll go into. And then energy is like autocannons and beam rifles. There are, of course, exceptions to these, but this is in general the case. On the melee type mechs, they have actual shields, weapon type shield, and then they have parry windows. Honestly, 2 seconds is a massive parry window, longer than any game I've ever played for sure. You have your shield regen and your counterattack damage. The counterattack damage is a physical. So whenever you're parrying and you pull off a successful parry, the counterattack on a Listeness Complex shield will be 25,000 damage. As far as the 4 damage type goes, whenever you see the defense in this game, unlike most games, the defense is in fact just damage reduction. It doesn't get fed into an actual damage formula because there's no balancing required, because there's no builds in Mechabreak. In games like Destiny, The First Ascendant, Diablo, you have different weapons and items and abilities that you can equip to change your defense, which gets fed into a formula that decreases the damage output against you. A question that kept popping up in the chat was, what is repair intake, when I was going over HP live? And repair intake is just the amount of health that you get healed when a support unit is healing you, or from a beacon that's repairing you. I don't know why they even put this as a stat. Every mech has 100%. I assume in the future, or there are airdrops or something that you can equip that give you an extra repair, like 120 or even 200. We'll go into energy in another video, but fluid armor, your overshields, as I like to call them. As I said, the regen is automatically backlogged. Whenever you take damage, you automatically start regening on the 0 count of damage. So where it says fluid armor regen depleted, all mechs have 100%. It's just whenever you get to 100% depletion, that's when your fluid armor reactivation threshold kicks in. This threshold is an amount of regen equal to 20% on almost all the mechs. And after the 100% depleted happens, 3 seconds need to pass before you start regening. That's what these stats down here mean, if anyone was curious. A lot of questions popped up in the chat when I was telling people how HP and shield worked inside of the game. So charged beam cannon, this is Narukami's beam rifle. They almost all have special effects whenever it's not just a gun. There is a charge up. There's a lot of things that this game doesn't automatically tell you when you're looking at the stats sheet. I assume later they'll put in the information, but they just left some things out sometimes. So typically, to develop damage from a gun, you could just take the damage and the firing interval and divide them by the amount of damage over time that you're doing for the DPS that the robot's capable of, and you can figure out how much damage DPS is possible per mech, which I do want to do, but that is a lot of time and effort, because you can't just take everything from a spreadsheet and put it in, because not all the information for damage is inside of the game. But it's on the list. And then every mech kind of has this score sheet. These are basically useless. Don't make your decisions based off of this ever. But it's cool. As far as mods go, you can mod your mech and change these stat values, but I'm not going to go over builds with HP. As far as HP and fluid armor, the ultra heavies have the most, with Stego being in front by just a little bit. However, Tricera actually has the most because they have a deployable shield unit that regens their HP with the press of a button, which sounds really broken, but for the most part, all of the mechs are balanced in team competitive play, which is really what the game is made around. So some mechs are good for things and other mechs are bad for things. Obviously, Tricera, best fortress unit, and then Falcon and Sky Raider, best mobile units, which is the whole point. And then, of course, we have repair station beacons. These are deployment options that generate an AoE that heals whoever is linked to them. So the stats on this one are 35,000 hit points. Super easy to destroy, honestly. One charged snipe from a Narukami and it's over. But obviously there's better beacons, there's more beacons. Just an example of a repair. The majority of units don't have any way to repair their own hit points, and support units right now are kind of busted in team comp, or I wouldn't say busted, but definitely required for competitive play. An ultra heavy tethered to a support unit is just so good. So a big reason I made the video is a lot of people online just had questions about HP and shields and how everything worked while I was live on Twitch. If you're interested in seeing me on Twitch live, that's going to be in the comment description. Any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. If I get enough questions about a certain topic, I usually make a video. I'll be covering this game and the First Descendant. I'm kind of waiting for the First Descendant to have more content for Season 3, as it will change everything. If you liked it, like it. Have a sick day, and peace out.